Welcome to the Motivation Without the Hype podcast with your host, Jez Perez. He's an author, high-performance coach, and motivational speaker. This show brings you inspiring messages and interviews to unleash your greatness in life and in business. So let's get started.
Hi everyone, welcome to Motivation Without the Hype podcast show. My name is Jez Perez, a former procrastinator into an action taker. We bring you inspirational messages and interviews, including motivation insights, tips, principles, and proven strategies that you can take action without the hype in unleashing your greatness in life and in business. We appreciate you plugging in and spending time with us. And we have a very special guest, and I am super grateful to have him on our show. His name is Jeremy, with over 20 years of experience as a creative lead, executive producer, and stereographer on some of Hollywood's biggest films, and over 10 years as a creative entrepreneur and consultant for massive global creative companies. Jeremy now uses his wealth of experience and knowledge to help creative entrepreneurs and business owners break through to that next level of success so they can create and live free. Guys, we are so happy to have Jeremy with us. So Jeremy, thank you so much for joining today's podcast show. So please tell us about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me and for that amazing intro and get me pumped up and super excited.
Absolutely, come on.
In my head, I could hear the crowd going wild. It just
I probably need to get a sound effect to doing that.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, I got some value we can share and help some people
Absolutely.
out. My background and who I am, I've come from, I have a deep background in the film business, and I climbed the creative ladder literally from entry level, artist to the highest creative positions there are, and kind of found myself in a position of not feeling fulfilled. And so I made some big changes and went through some pretty trying times, some difficult times, but came back on top. And along the way, I just found myself, thinking, why did I have to go through this? Why did so much of this just seems like it should be common knowledge? This should be shared. People should talk about it. And so that's what I'm doing. And I'm getting out there and trying to help as many creative entrepreneurs and business owners as I can get further, faster, and not go through the pain and the struggles that I went through.
Fantastic. And I know that you have an amazing stories from trials to triumph journey. Can you share just a little bit as to where you started that has led you to now helping others to live out their best life? Because, hearing your story, and I think it's just phenomenal. Can you just share a bit of it?
Absolutely. So, like I said, having this background in the film business, and I'm third generation. My grandfather was in the film business and working on I Love Lucy and the Beverly Hillbillies and like all the classic TV shows, right? And, aunts and uncles and my dad. And so I grew up saying, I'm never going to be in the film business. I'm going to go do something else. And actually I was quickly, I was working, I went to school, I went to college. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I just kind of came back home and I was like trying to find myself. And I was like, I just like to create. I just want to be an artist. And so I started going to art school, and I finally got a job as a illustrator. And I was painting Disney DVD covers and doing all this cool stuff. Yeah, it was awesome. And, and then I lost my job. The company lost Disney as like the bulk of that company, their business was coming from Disney, and they lost a majority of it. And not that the company did anything wrong. It was just Disney had made some changes. It's like if we all put all of our eggs in one basket and then that basket goes away, right? And so I found myself out of work, and my dad's like, I got this visual effects producer friend, you should go talk to him. I'm like, Dad, come on, I don't want to do that. So 2 months later, right, like I need money. And so I go talk to this guy, and long story short, the guy's awesome. He's now been a friend for decades, and I get into the film business in the visual effects field. And everybody around me is wearing these 3D glasses, these paper 3D glasses, right? And I'm going, wow, like people do this for a living? This is so cool.
No way.
And I just loved it, right? And so I worked on, this was 2002, I worked on Sesame Street 4D for Universal Studios Osaka. And it was just awesome. I was like, I love this. And so I did everything I could. I just wanted to create and do this 3D and literally climb the ladder as quickly as possible, taking every opportunity I could get. Then Avatar comes out, the world explodes with 3D. My street value overnight just went through the roof, and I got started getting these big consulting jobs for these big companies, and then got these really big creative roles. I became global creative director for this big company after consulting for them. And we built this global team of 3,500 people worldwide in like 18 months. It was bananas, right? But it was awesome. Working on like the top movies there are. You know, I mean, I remember they flew me out. Luckily I got an agent, right? Like my value, I was like, oh my God, how do I handle this? So I got an agent to handle my contracts. And she made sure, like, in my contract it said I get to fly first class, you know, or business class, and Amazing. All this stuff. And so they would send me to these big meetings, right? And I remember they sent me out to meet with David Yates, who's the the director on the Harry Potters, and to go meet with the producers and all that to talk about making Harry Potter 3D and making them all 3D. And so I fly out there, you know, for a meeting, like from I'm in LA, by the way, right? Just for a meeting,
wow.
Just for a meeting, right? Like, how awesome is it, right? And so I go out, and it goes well, we get the job, and you know, there's all kinds of stories like this, but at the end of the day, like, once that team was built and the machine was running, I found myself like I wasn't fulfilled, right? Like, it's super exciting. The Hollywood, like, ultimate cool factor, right? Like, majority of the people be like, oh, that's cool, man, that's so awesome. Oh, you get to do all these things. And yes, but there was something missing, right? Like, I wasn't feeling fulfilled. And what I found is that there really was no creative freedom. There was no, at the end of the day, my opinion didn't really matter, right? And I would have these moments where it was like the control was always in somebody else's hands, and I climbed this ladder and I got to the top, and it wasn't what I expected. And so I felt like I was in this soul-sucking job, and no disrespect to the company. The company was great. They treated me well. Obviously the experience was great, but there was no fulfillment, and I didn't know what to do. And so the universe just kind of came in and said, well, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you decide what to do, because they call me in, I meet with the CEO, and he's like, hey, so we're going to shut down the LA facility, right? We're not going to have an office in LA anymore, but you're more than welcome to come to Vancouver. We want to relocate you up to Vancouver, and it's going to be great. And having that feeling, I was like, it just wasn't sitting right with me, you know? And I had just met my now wife, and we were dating, and like I'm falling in love, and like having these feelings I never thought were possible, right? Like, I just thought it was only in the movies, right? And it's not only in the movies. Like, anybody out there who like is still waiting, I promise you, it's there, it's possible. And so I turned it down. I walked away from like this massive salary and a great experience. And we bought a business. We bought a print and marketing business. And I thought, hey, I just built a team of 3,500 people worldwide. Obviously, there was a lot of people involved with that. It wasn't just me by myself, but I was the creative guy overseeing all of this. And man, let me tell you, I didn't know what I didn't know, and it was bad. We got to the point, I mean, a year into it, and we were out of money. The credit cards were full. The bank wouldn't loan me any more money. The savings was gone. We'd already borrowed money from the family. I mean, we're talking kaput, right? And it was bad. I came home, and you know, my wife is really upset one day, and she's crying because she's thinking like, how are we going to pay the bills? And I would spend my mornings just curled up in bed, just like wishing I had a job so I can call in sick, you know, or go mindlessly and sit in front of a computer all day and make money doing nothing. And it was really bad. And that's when I stumbled across like certain podcasts, and I was listening to audiobooks, which led to a coaching program, which led to going to a mastermind. And by doing that, I started learning from people who were already experiencing and had already done what I'm going through now, right? And boy, let me tell you, I was going through the biggest problem I was having was I was spending all my time and money on trial and error, right? And I was in these terrible trial and error loops going nowhere. And then all of a sudden I started learning from other people, and it was going faster and faster and faster. And all of a sudden, like boom, 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 18 months later, from that point, the business is taking care of itself. It's 80% passive, and it hadn't replaced the income that I had before, but it had generated enough revenue, and it was running itself that I could go acquire other streams of revenue, right? And so now basically I was on top of this mountain, and I came crashing down into the valley of despair, and then back on top, but in a new mindset, you know what I mean? And like making money and like just like, oh geez, man. It was kind of like telling that story in like the few minutes that I just did. It was exhausting.
So it's a long process for you, from where you are to where you are now. And, you have an amazing values, living free and having fun. How does that translate that into business success from your experience?
Yeah, great question. Because here's the thing. So like I said, I was on top. I came from the bottom. I was back on top. But when I was back on top, it was I just went back to burning myself out, right? I just went back to being stressed out and burnt out and working hard and not enjoying my life. And I'm like going, wait a minute. So I've been successful and like didn't enjoy my life. I've been totally unsuccessful and not enjoying. And now of course you have moments of joy and you hang out with your friends and your family. But at the core of it, I mean, like to really step back and really look at your life and how you're living and what you're doing and how you're feeling, how much of that time are you giving up, to somebody else's dream if you have a job, right? How much of that time are you giving up for the future, right? I'm just going to kill myself from Monday to Friday so that I can have 2 days off and enjoy my life. But you're so tired and stressed out, right? Like, yeah. I'm just going to go so hard from 9 in the morning to 9 at night because then I'll get 45 minutes tonight to watch that TV show I want to watch. You know what I mean? Like, there's something wrong with the way that we're doing things. And so I found like, okay, hold on. There's got to be a better way to do this. Like, one, we have to have fun. A long time ago, before I went through that whole journey, I remember I was driving on the freeway here in LA, and I remember I was coming down. I'd been at the beach all day, and at the time I was surfing and I was diving and I was doing all these amazing things. And I remember I was just like, had the windows down, the music blaring, I was feeling good. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna have fun. Life should just be about fun. I'm gonna have fun, and if it's not fun, I'm not gonna factor it in. And right there, I was like, oh, the fun factor. If it's not fun, I don't factor it in. But I had forgotten that, right? So you gotta have fun, but at the same time, you gotta be free. You have to unshackle yourself from this idea that even if you are successful, right? Because this is what we're talking about. Like, oh, you're successful, great, I finally made it, but you're still giving up your life. Like, what is the value in that? So you have to set yourself free and not stress out so hard. Like you gotta embrace it, and you gotta put your hands up, and you gotta enjoy the ride. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I know you got some principles about the F's. Can you explain what the F's are?
Right. Yeah. So to get to to that,
you're getting me fired up, man. F. You're getting me fired up. This is
right. Yeah. There's 4 F's, man. The last one is fired up.
Come on.
So you gotta have your foundation, right? Like I bought this business and I was totally missing a whole chunk of knowledge, right? And so I didn't know what I didn't know. So you gotta have this foundation of knowledge, right? Like what I've now kind of coined as like your foundational springboard, right? And for me, I've written it all down. I figured out, it's like for me, there's 14 stages of business, right? That is the foundation that you have to understand each one of these things, right? And that's your foundation. And once you understand it, right, then you can have proven frameworks. That's the second F. You got to have the frameworks to execute at each one of those steps, right? So you got to build your framework. You got to build your foundation. You got to have your proven frameworks. And remember, we're modeling success. We don't have to figure this out on our own. It's not like, oh, look at me, I figured it all out. Look, big Jeremy, he's super awesome. No, Jeremy suffered big time to realize that I didn't have to figure it out. But then comes the freedom, right? Then comes the freedom of success, and it's more about working over your business, right? When I had that business, I had this sign above my monitor that said, don't work in your business, work on your business, right? And I was like, because I was working so hard in my business doing the stuff. But you shouldn't even work on your business. You need to work over your business. So if you have, like, for an example, if you have like the foundation of these 14 stages, right? And then you have these frameworks of how to assess and use each one of these, right? You're now get to the point where you can ask the right questions, right? Because I know I have this formulaic strategy of saying at this point, I need to review some data. We need to collect data, KPIs, whatever kind of data you have that works in your business, right? And how do I ask the right questions that aren't for me? Like, what do I have to do? Who has to do this? How do I figure out how to get somebody else to do it? Like, how do I ask these questions that set me free so that my business and myself can be super successful, but I'm not shackled to the business? Does that make sense?
Yeah, this is amazing. And what's the final F for fire? Passion?
Oh, fire, yeah,
Don't give
fire,
up.
man.
No, this is
Right.
amazing. You know,
Yeah.
like the framework, I mean, like the foundation, the framework, and the freedom, it really embeds, right? And I can see it, you come with the mindset, having the skill set to not reinvent the wheel, and the execution part is really taking action. And that is the freedom, because sometimes we get bowled back with fear, but when you have freedom as that combat, oh man, it's freaking awesome. It's amazing. So, I mean, like, what is the meaning behind, creating and living free? Because that freedom part has really resonated with me, and it's kind of like your, that anthem for you. Can you tell us what that meaning is, and why and how we can actually achieve those two things?
Yeah, you got to trust the process. You got to trust that you do the work so often, right? I know everybody, like, not, okay, maybe not everybody, but I know a lot of people are like me, where they're going to sit down and they're going to come up with a perfect plan, and they're going to try to figure it all out, right? And so first, we got to just take imperfect action, right? Like, we have to move, we have to go, because we don't actually learn something until we do it, right? We need feedback from the world. We need feedback from our clients. We need just feedback from everybody to know what to do, right? And so we have to trust the process. So when you understand you have your foundation, and then you've got your frameworks, right? And you've put this whole plan together, and you're doing it. And that framework, like I said, to ask the right questions. So you gotta step back and trust yourself, and let go, and not be so worried about tomorrow. Just try it. Just try not being so worried about tomorrow. Everybody is so worried about tomorrow that they don't enjoy today, right? Like, happiness doesn't exist tomorrow, and happiness doesn't exist yesterday. Happiness only exists right now. So do you want to be stressed out about the future, or scared because something happened in the past, or be happy that you have a plan, and that you're living, and that you're going and you're enjoying things? And then that's where the freedom is in your mind. You know what I mean?
Wow. Like, how do you, because, there are a couple of listeners, a lot of listeners who are in a situation where they are in business and they feel like throwing the towel. How did you rise above that and overcoming those challenges? Because, in business, it's not a bed of roses, right? It's like up and down. But how did you able to stay committed, consistent, and able to continue to still have that clarity, say, you know what, despite of this, I'm still going to keep on going forward? Because through your experience, like, how did you make that switch, say, you know what, I've got so much burden around me with my family, with everything, but yet I'm still going to pursue this? How did you overcome that? Because there's a lot of people who are in that situation where they're kind of like thinking of throwing the towel. And with your 3 Fs, how did you, initiate those stages?
Can I be super honest and transparent?
Please. Yeah.
I mean, you don't. I mean, or you do. You just constantly do. It's not that it's just this one point in time and you finally overcome it. You're always overcoming it, right? You're always going to be, like, I say it, like, you got to create and live free, and you got to be free, and you got to be happy, you got to think about this stuff. But that's just, we're also human, right? And so we have these moments, we all have moments where we're tired, we're hungry, we're like, oh my God, is this going to work? Like, those are all normal feelings. And I think first, like, let's just accept it. Let's just accept that it's not going to be perfect every day. Let's just accept it, right? Like, and then let's have a process for when, right? Let's have a foundation. Let's have a framework, right? Let's have a process and a framework for getting past that. And so for me, right, because I still all the time, and because this is what I have found. I have found that when I'm feeling that way, right, when things are hard and I want to throw in the towel, that I know it's my brain that's doing that, right? I know, like, we have to have, a higher level of consciousness. We have to be able to say, hold on, my brain is telling me that. My brain is trying to protect me from something. My brain is trying to block and push something away. Why is it doing that? Well, is it just because I didn't sleep well last night? Is it because I didn't eat well? Is it because I didn't exercise? Like, there's just these things you got to do to take care of your body, right? But then it's also what's happening. And, like, let's look at it. Let's assess the situation, and let's say, okay, let's acknowledge we're feeling this way. And then let's just put it to the side, and let's just, like, focus on positive thoughts, right? If we embrace the negative thoughts and we embrace the fear, That's what we're going to get more of, right? We're just going to continue to feel that way. It's going to build and it's going to grow. Or we can say, okay, hold on. I acknowledge I'm feeling this way. I don't want to feel this way anymore. I'm going to push this over here and I'm just going to keep stepping forward, right? Because I have a reason why I'm doing this. Because I know, what are you going to do? You're going to throw in the towel and you're going to go do something else? You're going to rebuild something else? You're going to go work for somebody else, right? That's not free, man. That's just shackling yourself to somebody else's dream. You know what I mean?
You know, you've just mentioned another F called forward. So we've got foundation, we got frameworks, we got freedom, we got fire, and we got forward, right?
I love it. It's raining F-bombs all over the place.
So
these are the good F-bombs.
So what is one thing that, you know, people can do today to start the process? Because, you know, you really got to embrace it, right? You know, and, you know, embrace the journey, but trust the process, as you mentioned. How can they get started?
Well, I think, you know, if I was starting from ground zero, right? If I was hearing this, what would I do? You need to take stock of everything, right? Like, where am I going? Like, let's just first understand, like, what is my goal, right? And what's my reasoning behind that goal, right? So there's another thing. When you start to feel weak and you want to throw in the towel, you got to go back to your purpose and your why, right? Your reason, like where are you going and why are you going that? And that needs to be strong. You need to feel passion about that, right? And then put your plan together. Learn from others, right? Model success. Don't invent the wheel. Look at what other people are doing and try it. And it doesn't even have to be, oh, I'm going to take this one person or this one idea and that's going to be 100% what I'm going to do. It could be that, or I'm going to take a little bit from this or a little bit from that. But you have to start. You have to take action. When I came out of that business and that struggle, right? And people would say, well, what was the one thing you learned? I would say, hold on, like, I'm going to give you three. I'm going to give you three things. And if you only do these three things, you'll be ahead of the game, right? And so for the business side of things, you got to know your market, right? And so like I was in also a lot of pain because I didn't know my market at all. I didn't know how to talk to them. I didn't know how to communicate to them. I didn't know what they wanted to hear. There was so much I didn't know because at the end, it's not about you, it's about them, right? Like we need to be in service of other people. If we're in business, we are serving other people. And if we make it about us, it's never going to work, right? So you need to know your market, right? You need to model success. You need to find examples of success and model it, right? And you need to move. You need to take imperfect action and go and then adjust along the way. Again, you got to put your hands up and enjoy the ride. But you got to have the other thing in terms of doing it is like, for me, every 90 days, I reevaluate my business and just me personally, right? Where am I on track? Am I changing things? What can I do? Because then I can put my hands up. So instead of being stressed out and worried and freaking out every single day, I could do that every 90 days, right? Like I could just have every 90 days, I can just put my head, no, but we're really like, what are you doing? You need to evaluate. You need to look back and say, okay, what am I doing? Where am I going? What's the reason for this? And how is this working? And what do I need to change? And let's make it, because if you start making all these little micro adjustments, it's like somebody micromanaging you. Don't micromanage yourself, right? Like give yourself the freedom to have those ups and downs emotionally and with your energy and like look at it over a longer period of time and then make an adjustment.
Absolutely. And you know, a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs who are in this type of industry where, you know, they're still held back by not having support. You know, they think they can be an operator the whole rest of their lives and micromanage themselves. They don't come with energy, effort, and intention like you do, where you said, let's plan out for the next 90 days and let's reevaluate. But they're just stuck what you just mentioned. How do you encourage someone to say, hey, man, you need to get out of that rut? Like, how do you get out of that rut where they're still thinking, oh, I can still do it on my own, and they're still reinventing the wheel where the wheel's already been invented, and they don't want to model, like, because there's some people who are traditionalists where they say, no, I've learned this way, I'll stick this way, and that's all settles. How do you were able to innovate to say, you know what, I do need help, I need to reevaluate my life, I need to see how it's congruent my values into this business? How would you do that?
That's a really good question, and I guess, you know, it depends if I'm one-on-one with somebody, right? If I'm talking to somebody, you know, there's a formula, right? There's a framework for doing that, right? And like,
see, these 3 F's, amazing.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the 5 F's.
The 5 F's. Let's not sell the other 2. So I'm sure. But you know, I would first I would align myself with with what they're going through, with their mindset. Again, if I'm going to serve somebody, if I'm going to help somebody, it can't come from what I would do for me personally, right? Or what I might say to you. I would first talk to them and like hear them out, right? Hear them out. Where are they stuck in? Why do they believe the things they believe, right? And then I would look to try to change their belief system, right? Like, you believe this and I get it and I understand this, but let me ask you some questions. And over a series of questions, I would try to see if they would be interested in believing something else, right? Because we know, you and I know, that so much of our success and what we do and how we feel in life is just our mindset. It's just our mind telling us how to feel, right? So we can control that. And so you need to believe, you need to change their beliefs. I think, and I'm going to say something, but I don't know if it's true, but somebody said this to me, and I thought it made a lot of sense. And so if there's anybody in the military out there from what I'm about to say, if I'm wrong, hit me up and correct me, like DM me, and politely tell me that like maybe this isn't true. But I was told that when, like here in the States, when the Coast Guard goes out to rescue like people from a boat, right? And if the boat is capsized or people are in the water and, they got a helicopter that fits 6, I have no idea how many they actually fit, but let's just say they fit 6 and there's 10 people in the water. And the question is, well, how do they save the people? How do they save the 6? Like, how do they know which 6 to save? And it's the ones that swim toward them, right? And so what I'm saying is that maybe everybody's not ready to change. They might not be ready to believe something else. And they have to want it, man. You gotta want something different. And if you don't want something different, it doesn't matter what I say. You're not gonna change anything.
Yeah. So I always ask this to every guest, this question, and I'm gonna say this again. What is your meaning of motivation without the hype? And how do you use motivation for your personal success?
It's a great question. For me, and it comes down, how do I for motivation, for me, it's something greater than myself, right? And so for me, I'm motivated by my family. I'm motivated by the way I want to live, right? And so there's no hype when I'm talking about create and live free, wow. Right? There's a goal there. The goal for me is to spend as much time with my family as possible, right?
Jeremy, you just had number 6.
Did I? What was it?
Family.
Family. I love it. That's
the secret sauce.
I gotta rewind this. I gotta go back. I gotta write this down. I'm changing everything.
You are on fire, seriously. I think it all underpins is your family. That why. It's the secret sauce to those 3 F's, right? Is that family.
It is.
Continue on, man. It's just F came out, these F bombs.
Yeah, I love it. That's really it for me. So like, I get motivated by something outside of me. And for me, it's my family, spending time with my family. I to be honest, like with COVID, I got to work from home more than ever, right? Like this has been a blessing in disguise. Fortunately, there was nothing catastrophic happened in our family. And I was able to just I had one of the best years ever last year, both financially and personally. We keep talking. Pretty soon you're going to hear a baby crying because my 1-year-old's going to wake up from his nap and he's down the hall, and I'm going to be like, this is me, this is fine.
That's amazing. Oh, yeah. I love it. And guys, those who are listening and watching the podcast, you got to rewind this and find out the 6 F's. By the last F being the secret sauce to how the equation happens to living your life with freedom. Man, I am blown away. I'm seriously gonna rewind this. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for your amazing, awesome, fantastic 7. Fantastic.
Nice.
Number 7.
You had to get to 7. Had to get there.
Oh man, we had to get there. Fantastic. Words of wisdom and insights. Guys, for more information in how you can actually get in touch with Jeremy, look at our show notes. He's got such ton of amazing community and culture that he provides with such business knowledge. You got to get in touch with him. So he has amazing programs available. So please sure to follow him and subscribe to Jeremy with all the provided links there below. So if this episode has been very helpful, and uplifting, we would love for you to write a review to inspire more listeners to get plugged in. We will continue to provide high value content in each of every episode. If you don't mind sharing this podcast show on social media by inviting others, it would mean the world to me. Every time you tag me, we will get the opportunity to share those posts, and together, I say it again, together we can make a difference in the lives of others through inspirational episodes just like this. So there you have it. In closing, continue to unleash your greatness and tell yourself that I can, I will, and I must, and we will see you on the next episode.